Officer fired after video shows him running down suspect with his car by obvious stealth. The Washington Post. The following story is based on body camera footage and police statements regarding an incident in which a rookie officer drove his squad car into a fleeing suspect, causing him to be fired from the Athens-Clarke County Police Department within hours. The call came in at 7:30 p.m. Friday. Timmy Patman was running. There was a warrant out for him for violating probation on a drug charge last year, meth and less than an ounce of marijuana, and now he was running from an officer through East Athens, Georgia. Start your day with the news you need from the Bay Area and beyond. Sign up for our new Morning Report weekday newsletter. Officer Taylor Salters sat in a squad car on a side street a few blocks away, listening to the call. He looked to his left, then his right. Then he threw the car into reverse and turned down Vine Street, sirens blaring, wipers flicking light rain off the windshield. He accelerated down a narrow street of low-roofed houses and veered left at a fork, at an intersection that used to be called the Iron Triangle, during the crack cocaine crisis of the early 2000s, according to Flagpole. Oncoming cars veered out of the way as Salters sped past the liquor store, the police station, the church. He spotted Patman half a block ahead, sprinting down the sidewalk clutching a baseball cap. Patman was 24 years old. Salters was a year out of the police academy. He would later tell his bosses that he'd been trying to block the fugitive's escape. It all happened in a span of seconds, between two passes of the windshield wipers. Salters turned the car toward the sidewalk, striking the curb a few paces in front of Patman. The car jolted and a front tire went flat. Patman escaped into the street, now sprinting down the yellow line. Salters accelerated and veered toward him. Another jolt, and then Patman was over the hood, bouncing off the windshield. Somehow he never lost his grip on his ball cap, even as he fell face down into the street. Salters leapt out of the car. The second officer had already caught up and was straddling Patman, who lay writhing on the wet pavement. "We got him," Salters said. He reached back inside his car to kill the sirens. Almost instantly, the audio track on his body cam filled with the sounds of people screaming. A woman had stepped into the street to stare at Patman, covered in dirt, with two uniformed officers standing over him. "Oh my God," she yelled. "Why'd you hit that man?" Salters pointed at her. "Stop." He bent down to help the second officer cuff Patman, who wouldn't let go of his ball cap. The hat was drawn taut as the officers tried to pry his arms apart. It had been less than 60 seconds since the impact, but already a throng had gathered at the Iron Triangle. The accounts of eyewitnesses were relayed through the crowd as angry shouts, "He hit the man! He hit the man! He hit the man!" On the ground, Patman half closed his eyes and finally let the officers cuff him. "You can't hit the man with a car like that. We're going to need crowd control," Salters said. "We need our M's," he added. Seconds later, a second squad car pulled up. More uniforms joined Salters and the second officer. A man in a camouflage t-shirt stepped out of the crowd, pulled a lanyard from his jeans and slung a badge around his neck. "I got him with my car," Salters explained. "That's what they're yelling about." Most of the police started making a perimeter, herding the shouters back to the sidewalk. They left Salters and Patman to have a sort of conversation in the street. "Stand up," Salters said, almost softly. "We're going to put you in the back of this car while we handle this." "All right." Patman didn't move. You don't want to lay like that, man. It ain't good on your handcuffs. It hurts, Patman said. What hurts? Salters asked. From when you hit the ground? You know, Patman said. Oh, I know. I know what I did. Why'd you run? I don't know. I just did. Patman finally sat up, sitting on the curb with his hands bound behind him. Salters ignored the jeers from all around him, discussing the damage to his front wheel with other officers. After a minute or so, a woman walked slowly out of the crowd. She passed through the police line and held out a cigarette to Patman. She put it in his mouth and lit it, and the officers let him smoke it for a few moments. Then Salters took it away. We can't smoke in the car, he said. All right. They loaded Patman, who no longer protested, into the second patrol car. 2 days later, he would remain jailed on charges of probation violation and obstructing an officer. Salters had not been sure his car would be drivable after the collision, but he was able to rattle away on 3 good tires, leaving the furious crowd at the Triangle. He held Patman's confiscated cigarette out the squad car window as he made one of his last journeys as an Athens Clark County police officer. About half a dozen other officers had already gathered in a nearby parking lot when Salters pulled up in his crippled car. Damn, Salters shouted, getting out and slamming the door. He's fine, one of the officers told him. In a news release Saturday, police said Patman had suffered scrapes and bruises. He was running this way, Salters explained to his colleagues in the parking lot. And I just came this way, and he ran into the hood of my car and bounced off. All right, someone said. As long as you didn't make some kind of overt movement to strike him, you'll be fine. But he wasn't. Within a matter of hours, the police chief would watch footage from Salters' body camera, which showed him jerking the steering wheel in Patman's direction just before the car struck him. An internal affairs investigation was opened, and the rookie officer's firing was announced in a news release less than a day after the collision. The news release somewhat supported Salters' version of events, stating that had been trying to block Patman rather than intentionally hit him. But the officer, who could not be reached, had also violated unspecified policy and used force excessively, a police spokesman told the Washington Post. The state of Georgia will continue to investigate him and might assign additional penalties. Before he turned off his camera on Friday, Salters carefully set down Patman's cigarette, which he had carried with him from the scene of the crash. Anybody got a lighter? An officer asked. You might also like 6 unhealthy vegetable dishes to avoid at Hawker Center's Hungry Go, where SGNWAR intervenes as tensions surface in PKR leadership. The new paper More Than 30 Injured in Bus Collision print edition. Apply for credit. Cards on bankbazaar.sg and get in. www.bankbazaar.sg. 20 magnificent hotel pools around the world. Far and wide. Busiest airports in the world for 2018. Far and wide. As a teen, he killed a little girl in a casino. Now he. MercuryNews.com. New sexual assault allegation raised against Mel Pettis. MercuryNews.com. Melania Trump's nude photos, who leaked them? MercuryNews.com. Recommended by